to go over the choke points of construction, what slows stuff down, what gives construction such an infamous name, and how we're going to overcome that and be the different ones that actually thought about stuff. So, first things you got to do, and this is a list of all your problems right here. I like to define what the problems are and then come up with a solution on how to fix them, preferably before it happens. It's going to start with your plan. You got to have a good plan of execution. How are you going to get stuff done? You got to think about step A, step B, C, all the way down to Z. And in each phase, you got to think about what happens in between. Everything has to be written down. Everything. I want to see stacks of paperwork. We've got our expanding folder here full of stuff. I want y'all to see this right here. Like, this is just one concept notes here. I took this out of the notebook the other day. And this right is probably 25 pages. And that's just from like a 4-month period of time. And a lot of that was written in 1 month. So we handwrite everything down. Even what you're seeing here, you can zoom in on this and you can see it's the same stuff. But since other people are going to read it, and I didn't really have a lot of visual with this, I thought I would make a PowerPoint. The plan, that's your number one choke point. If you don't have a good plan, nothing's going to go. If you don't have a plan, you don't work for this company. So that's part of the brand, is we always have a plan. We think about things beforehand. Now, there are things that interrupt our plans. There's plenty of them. We try to think about them and prevent those, because putting out fires is not the most intelligent thing to do. Making a fire not start in the first place, that's the intelligent thing to do. So let's go on to step 2, what the next problem is. So there's weather. Weather's kind of vague. If it's 70 degrees and sunny outside, we got no problem. So I specified that it was rain, snow, below 32 degrees, tornado, or hail. Those are right there, 1, 2, 3. Those are your 5 things that'll slow down construction. And sometimes it doesn't even affect your construction. Like if we've already got the roof on, we got plenty of stuff inside to do. If it's, I mean, below 32 degrees, that's really just for concrete and other things that need to form. Concrete, your paint, anything that has to cure, has a chemical bonding process. The framing, I don't care if it's 32 degrees. The framer probably doesn't care. I mean, he'll get cold, but he'll still work because he needs a paycheck. Tornado, we're staying home. If a tornado happens, not much we can do. Now, good thing is tornadoes, they last about 20 minutes. So we're not going to be slowed down too much by that. Hail, we'd have to work with hard hats on. It can damage your roof, so you delay putting a roof on. It can mess up your cars, not to mention, like on below 32 degrees, even if you're a great driver, what if the other people aren't? So, I try to keep people off the roads during snow. Uh, we just got through with about 6 weeks of that. So those are your things. So we're going to go over the solutions here in a second. But one of them is check the weather every single day, especially when you have exterior jobs. Labor, there's kind of 2 sides to labor and materials. It's either going to be the management screwed up or the worker screwed up. So the way of a management screwing up would be, we didn't give the guys enough notice about what's going on. So of course they couldn't show up tomorrow. They couldn't show up 2 hours later. They always, we called them on the weekend. Like, why would we do that? If we had a good plan, we just called them on Monday. So planning is huge when it comes to your labor. But then there's times where your workers are sick. The workers' kids are sick. They're finishing up a big job that just started and they got 7 other emergencies, or they broke their knee because they fell off a scaffold because they loaded too much bricks on it, as has happened in the past. All of these are examples we've actually had to deal with, so I'm not just pulling these out of thin air. They happened within the last 12 months, and they will happen again if we don't address these issues. The other thing is materials. Materials, I mean, windows get stupid. They can take 16 weeks. Other times they take 2 weeks. So we have to communicate with our suppliers. We have got this spreadsheet, and you can tell this one we had to put a retaining wall in, so it's throwing our stuff off. But you can click on these check boxes. You already have an example in another tutorial on how to do it. But using this and knowing 91 days under there or 5.1 months remaining, that is how we check this. That's how we make sure we get our materials ordered. Specifically, we go to the material section. These are our dates, and we update these. That's how you know what section you're on. With the suppliers changing their dates so often, we've really got to keep up to date on this project, how long it's going to take. Another one is rework, and they broke it, they got rejected. Inspection said do it again. I said do it again. Customer said do it again. It sucks. A change order. Maybe we put something that looks fan-freaking-tastic. It's not the customer style, though. He's writing the check, she's writing the check, so we're pulling out, we're doing it again, and they're getting charged for it. That's how change orders works. Change order means somebody didn't plan out very well. That's what that means. I don't like people who don't plan out very well. It costs a lot of money, and hey, if you feel like paying it, if you want to pay more money instead of planning, all right, you won't be an employee for this customer, but you might make a good customer. So, hey, we'll let you do it. Other thing is we didn't have prevention in place. So let's say we put a sliding door in, and on those sliding doors, we need to, or just a door threshold, we need to, we've got training tutorials on it, but you need to have your OSB over that. Anything that could get damaged. Like we had to put a pocket door in before sheetrock, we need to wrap that door with plastic so that way it doesn't get painted. It's a brand new door. We want a brand new house when we're done with this. Yeah. Your paperwork, you got to know what your permits are going to be needed, when your inspections are going to be needed, what the bank's going to be asking for typically when a draw comes up. Your title work, that goes up before the construction even starts typically. You got to just know your process. Know who needs a bill of assurance. And then your management, that basically comes into customer and the company, making sure they have the proper paperwork in there to build your stuff. Your insurance and it goes back to the contract between the customer and the company on how we'll do business. We need to make sure that gets signed and make sure it gets written fast. So we don't want to be waiting a long time for this. Once again, this is all stuff we're dealing with, and I'm making a tutorial to make sure that it gets taken care of. Because all this stuff can be taken care of, we just need to make sure we're not seeing repeat mistakes. All right, so here's how you fix this stuff and prevent it from happening. Most importantly, is you make a plan. You write your plan out. You check the plan. You refine the plan. You think about A to Z, beginning to end, and then you actually, and then that's when you start. So you don't try to start and then make a plan. It'll cost you a lot of money. It's happened to me before. I hired the wrong guy. He comes in and says, "All right, let's just get started." He lied on his resume, and he let me believe it, and I believed him. And anyway, he was used to having a manager over him telling him what to do on everything. So the manager had already made all the measurements, and then he would just go in and start laying the block. And he came out there and told me, like, "Hey, let's just start laying block." Yeah, that works, man, but who the hell's the manager out here? So make sure we think about things all the way to the end, all the way to the end, and in between what's going to happen on each step. Like what's the inspector's perspective be when they see this? What's the customer's perspective? What's the owner's perspective when I walk in there and see this stuff? So, and then what's your perspective? So you got to see this stuff through everybody's eyes and that is how you prevent these choke points. You make it like these choke points. They've been around beginning of time. Like we can probably go back to the pyramids. We don't have enough blocks yet. All right, well, our labor workers are sick. I mean, you can go back to the 1800s, and you can go back anytime and watch it. And the builders and the construction side of things and civilization, they all have these same problems. So we're identifying them and we're coming up with solutions. And that's the plan. We if it happens more than once, we need to have a plan for it. We need to have a procedure for it. Standard operating procedures, SOP. For the weather, it's pretty simple. Check the weather once a day, same time each day, so you don't forget. Build that muscle memory of when to check for the weather. Look 7 days out. Look at today, all the way up through today, 7 days out. That stuff's going to change. It changes all the time. It'll change within 2 hours on you. So, like sometimes you can look at it, said no rain. 30 minutes later, you look at it, we got rain coming. So, look at that. Also, be aware of your surroundings. Look at the sky. Is it gray? What did it look like last time it was gray? Did it rain the next day? Did it get colder? Did it get hotter? Did a tornado hit? In springtime, tornadoes, they're bound to come. Summertime, it's hot and it's dry. Fall time, we got changing weather. That's another time for tornadoes. We got falling leaves. Wintertime, we know we don't have much sunlight. We got springtime, we know it's going to be wet. It's going to be hard to do dirt work. It's going to be hard to do foundations. Hard to do exterior work. And we got snow sometimes during the winter and the spring. So this stuff's not changing, guys. The weather patterns aren't changing. So think about how they are and how we're going to work with them, because we just have to learn how to play the game and to work amongst those rules. These rules aren't changing. Like, I'm not changing them. I can't change them. I can't change the weather. So I'm just showing you how to play with what's going to happen, what to expect, so you can make your plan a little bit better. So the next one's kind of talking about your labor workers. So we don't want management side problems. We want to make sure, we're following this. If this is found to be not up to date, we need to get it up to date. Update the dates. Go on the spreadsheet, figure out how to do it. Go on the training tutorial on how to work the spreadsheet to figure out how to do it. Because I don't need you recoding this. Anyway, it tells us when we need to notify people so that they have sufficient time to get out there. If they're getting sick, we've got in our training stuff, drink a lot of water, get a lot of sleep, sleep at the same time every day. We've got the stuff so to keep people healthy. We also need them keeping their kids healthy, because if their kids aren't healthy, then it takes out that whole family for 2 weeks. And then we got to, 2 weeks is expensive in construction. So we got to keep our people healthy. We need to communicate. I can't really set a rule on this one, because if we tell a guy 2 weeks out, we don't need to text him once a day, asking him, reminding who's going to be ready. We can do it kind of regularly, like maybe 3 times. Yeah, so that way they don't forget, and we can kind of forecast when they're coming. The labor workers are coming out there. And then if they're doing too many other jobs, we need to be able to at least recognize the signs that they got too much work and they're going to mess up our schedule, and we need to schedule somebody else. We can't really work with that person, not this time. We might call them back later, but yeah, we can't work with them on this one if they're wanting to slow us down too much. The materials, once again, projections and forecast spreadsheet. Communicate with your suppliers. You got to know how long the current lead time is on this project right now. Like during certain times, that was 16 weeks. Right now, it was 3 weeks on windows. So same with the doors, about the same lead times. We got to know when we need them, which ones we need, who's going to need them, what trades are going to need them. That's really all there is to this. The rework, put the proper protective gear in place. Once you install a pocket door, wrap it with plastic. Once, like, take the weather strips out of doors before it gets painted. Make sure that the floor goes in after the paint. And if that's not the case, if we're doing a remodel, make sure you got stuff down so things don't get painted that aren't supposed to. Be familiar with the code books. Be up to date on that locations code book. Make sure you're properly asking the right questions for the subcontractors to make sure they know how to do their work, so we don't get not good work. And make sure we know what the customer wants, so we know what the customer's likely to reject, and that'll help us and also cuts down on costs when we get the stuff right the first time. And your paperwork, refer to the tutorial on paperwork, and especially on permits. I mean, it's mostly on the permits. Make sure if you don't know, ask me, and if I can't get you an answer, then I probably need to call that city and find out when they do their inspections and how we can stay compliant with their inspections. The paperwork comes down to just knowing what the process is and making sure you're staying ahead of the curve. Now, these are just some more of your general solutions, and a lot of them we've already gone over here, but that's the same list. That's why. So just your basic, we want to run a tight ship here. There's not really another type of ship we can run except for one that goes and crashes. So care about what you're doing. Be passionate about what you do, or I mean, life's too short to have mediocrity. I'm a high performer. I'm looking for high performers. Low performers, you're not going to get along with me. So there's your warning. Every job site needs things moving at all times. If it's raining outside, we can work inside. And if we don't have the roof on yet, maybe we can't work inside. We can at least make sure our plan, which, generally we've already got our materials and our quantities and our list of what is needed to send over to the supplier. Normally that's already written. It's a good time to check if it's not. We need to at least know the next, if it's raining for the next 5 days, we need to know that like next Tuesday, we're going to be back in business. Next Tuesday, the 18th, whatever day it is. We need to forecast of when we're going to be back in duty, when we can get back in the game. And we need to be looking for as many other tasks. And after we figure out that one, say it's 2 weeks of rain, we need to be looking 3 or 4 projects down the road, make sure those material lists are already written. Now, a lot of that we do during the planning stage before the construction even starts. This is a good time to make sure that has been done, because that is a hard thing to do. Stick to your checklist. There's stuff in there that might seem silly, but it had a reason for something you haven't seen yet. And then sometimes it is silly. Let me know. I'll take it out of there. We don't need silly checklists. But for the most part, the checklist is going to get you within 90% every single time. Very, very likely. Think about the life cycle of everything. Think about, so we hire this contractor, we're going to send him a few messages, he's going to show up, he's going to do the work, then we're going to write him a check, then we'll probably issue him a 1099 at the end of the year, and then 6 months later we'll call him back, we'll ask him another one. Think about that. Think about all of this stuff. It all goes in a cycle, and it's the same cycle. And once you can see these cycles, you'll be able to better think about this. So customer meets us, we meet the customer, we get a piece of land, build the land, customer writes some checks, we cash some checks, you get paid. We call a couple contractors up, they come out there, they follow our plan, they do the thing, and then they move out. Something was wrong, they come back, they fix it. That by thinking about these things, you're gonna reduce these choke points in construction. And this right here, the list is very simple. It's about 6 things. There's only about 6 things that slow down projects, and I've seen them slow down for 6 years before. I mean, everybody's looked at like the highway, and some houses that got started and then didn't get finished. We need to make sure we're doing things that are getting things done as quickly and effectively and efficiently as it possibly can. By identifying the choke points, this is where we can get ahead. Make sure we don't have too many of them.